listening to the best radio station on Long Island.
As voted by Long Islanders like you in the Bethpage Best of Long Island Awards.
The voice of Nassau Community College.
This is the award-winning 90.3 WHPC HD Garden City.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Play WHPC.
And available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeart, and on the WHPC app.
90.3 WHPC.
.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box. I am Rob Leonard, and my co-host joining me every week as he does because he gets to hang out with his brother, which is the best part of this whole show. I get to hang out with my brother, Tim, and he gets to hang out with me. May you all have a co-host in your life like brother Timothy. But I should say that he is also an award-winning sports writer and co-host of this fine show. Hello, Timothy J. How are you?
Good morning, brother. I'm outstanding. It's that time of the year again.
We can spend about 2 hours today on what you have like 7 pages of notes, brother. Come on.
Tell Big Ed to stay home.
We might have to. Big Ed, if you're out there, right now he's probably somewhere on 109.
Drive slow, Big Ed. He's probably doing that anyway, though.
Yeah, Big Ed driving slow.
Not on purpose.
Big Ed driving slow is 70 miles an hour.
Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you don't have a choice on Long Island, brother.
70 miles an hour is Big Ed's speed. 90 miles an hour goes.
Don't sell out Big Ed to the cops. Come on. Big Ed drives the speed limit, everybody.
No, he doesn't.
Local law enforcement, Big Ed.
He gets down to Florida in 18 hours.
Law-abiding citizen.
18 hours, Ed is in right where the panhandle is. So anyway, it is that time of the year. It is officially March Madness.
Let the madness begin.
And they're all shooting for the Final Four.
Yes.
Though, of course, they want to win it, but the Final Four technically is a trademark name.
Yes, brother.
And the reason I say that is because Tim Leonard years ago wrote a fantastic article when he was covering RPI hockey up in Albany. And he was told that he couldn't use the term the Final Four for the hockey tournament. It was called what, brother?
Well, it wasn't called anything back then.
It was called the Frozen Four.
Well, now it's called the Frozen. I helped actually name it, brother.
Oh, okay. So,
but back then it wasn't known as anything. We were told that it was up to hockey to find their own name because they didn't have a name, and we called it Final Four, and they were like, yeah, that's a basketball thing. That's trademarked for basketball.
But it's also
only.
trademarked.
But it's trademarked for basketball only.
Well.
So nobody else can use it.
Well, anyway, so you did help it. So that's a whole different thing, and that's, there's a lot of Final Fours and March Madness happening because the women's basketball is also happening. Though,
yes.
Yeah, the ratings aren't bad for that, by the way, but, it's still...
It's getting better.
It's getting better because so many games are shown because ESPN, after a while, can't show the games. Well, actually, right now they can't. It's all TNT and CBS, that's sharing everything. So ESPN says, hey, we'll show the women's.
Show the women.
We'll do that. So anyway...
I'll take South Carolina. You can take everybody else, brother.
Let's start off with the NCAA men's basketball tournament. The brackets were selected last night, Sunday. Couple of surprises, brother, as he's wearing his Maryland Terrapins.
I want everybody to know. I'm going to say this right off because Maryland's playing the first game of the tournament.
The first game?
The first game, Thursday, 12:15.
Is this the one that gets you into the tournament?
No, that's a Tuesday. I don't even count those as tournament games.
Why not?
They're not really.
Why not?
They are like FDU is playing Texas Southern to see which of those two teams will get slaughtered by Purdue. All right? Texas Southern and FDU, I don't know if either team has a player taller than 6'8". The Edey kid from Purdue is, I believe, 7'4", and the player of the year. Who's going to deal with him? Nobody.
No.
They don't have anybody who can deal with him.
Okay.
It's going to be a slaughter.
But you know what? These two teams that get in. They're the 70. To go for it's a team 60. How does it work? It's 69 teams. How's it work?
I don't even remember. It's there are 4 games, so there's 4 extra teams because there are 4 games for play-in games.
Okay, so it's 72 teams.
So it's 68 teams.
Okay, 68. Okay. Oh, that's right. 64.
68, like 68 guns, brother.
So anyway, let's put it this way: if you're going to the NIT, which I think should be eliminated and gotten rid of, or be a preseason tournament, you're going for team number 69.
Right.
Okay.
Which we have to look into, brother, because I saw something on Facebook as I was coming in today. And a friend of the show, Mark Herman, I'll call him a friend of the show. I don't know if he's ever been on, but he's been a friend of mine for a long time.
He has not.
Former Newsday columnist. Put something on Facebook about how he was apologizing to his Hofstra friends, but this time he's going to have to root for the opposition. And he's a Rutgers graduate, so I'm not really sure what. For me, that's not the opposition. I mean, that's where he went to school, so of course he got. So I'm kind of thinking, I don't know it for a fact, but my reporter's intuition leads me to believe that Rutgers and Hofstra are playing each other in the NIT.
Well,
so I'm hoping that's not the case because Rutgers got a pretty good team. I was very surprised they didn't make the tournament.
Yeah,
one more win for them would have gotten them in. And I was there. I mean, there were a few surprises. I wasn't surprised particularly by the number 1 teams. I'm not. This is one of those years where there isn't a team that you could say, all right, yes, they're absolutely going to win the tournament. And you could have done that a couple of years ago with Gonzaga, even though Gonzaga didn't win it. The year that Baylor won it, nobody thought Baylor would win, but at least there was a team that you could say, all right, yes, they are absolutely 100% the favorite.
So there's no dominating team.
No. I mean, there are.
It's not the one where people like me who don't know much about, NCAA men's basketball say, well, I'm going to go with
like the year you took Kansas to win.
Yeah,
and they won, which was shocking to me. But these things happen. But
I got lucky.
It's. I mean, there are a half a dozen teams that can win this thing, and maybe more than that. And here's going to be a shocker for you, brother. I'm going to get this out of the way real quick because I don't even want to talk about it very long. You know how I feel about Duke. Overrated.
It's a criminal.
Overrated.
Criminal organization.
I don't like them. I think the NCAA bends over backwards for them. Duke is a 5th seed. They're seeded too low.
I've never heard you say that,
brother. I was shocked. I was shocked when I thought it.
Wow.
But they are seeded too low. They won the ACC tournament. How do you win the ACC tournament and wind up as a number 5 seed?
Is ACC tournament matter as much?
It should. It's the ACC tournament. I mean, it kind of, to me, focuses the attention on what the power leagues are. And we're going to get into St. John's a little bit later and also Georgetown because both of those teams, both of those former national powers fired their coaches days apart. Yeah,
and one of them is, someone we know.
Right. But the point
personally.
Being, if you look at the breakdown of leagues and how many teams they put into the tournament, Big 10, 9.
Right.
SEC, 8. Big 12, 7. Those are your power conferences nowadays. And that's an issue because ACC, 5 teams. Big East, 5 teams. And you can't tell me that there's a Big East team that can win this tournament because there isn't. Marquette is a number 2 seed, but Marquette's not winning this thing.
But the Big East isn't what it used to be, brother.
But that's my point. That is exactly my point, brother. The Big East isn't what it used to be. And that is an issue. And will it ever be again?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think they have to raid a couple of other divisions.
Well, they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to do that. But anyway, we have Alabama is the number 1 overall seed in the tournament.
Right.
I will say right now that the number 1 overall seed has not won the tournament in 10 years, since Louisville in 2013. And wasn't that the title that got vacated? I'm pretty sure it is, because that was what started Pitino's downward swoon, although he might be swooning back upwards now.
We'll talk about that in a couple.
Yes, a couple minutes. But Alabama is the number 1 seed. They are in the South region. Houston is the number 1 seed in the Midwest, even though they are without Marcus Sasser, the guard, who has a groin injury. We're not sure if he's going to be back, so that's a precarious number 1 seed. In the West, number 1 seed is Kansas, brother, your favorite team.
Hey, they're going to win.
Now, head coach Bill Self, who I know is your favorite coach because he won you a title,
That's right.
literally just had 2 stents inserted to clear a couple of blockages. Claims he's going to rejoin the team.
Of course he is.
Bill Self is, to me, he has a death wish. Dude,
Dad
stay
had
home.
stents.
Stay home and rest.
Dad had stents.
You know how much pressure is involved in college, in big time college basketball games, tournaments.
Yeah. You think he's going to leave that alone? Did Dad stop eating donuts when he had the stents? No.
There's nothing even close to eating donuts and going to an NCAA tournament game. In the East, Purdue is the number 1 seed. Real quick, I'm going to go number 2s. Arizona in the South, behind it, Alabama. Number 2 in the Midwest, Texas. Sally Dowdy will be happy about that.
Yep.
Right behind Houston. And Texas could wind up playing Texas A&M in the second round, which would be awesome. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. Because Texas A&M is a 7 seed. They really should be a higher seed. They got screwed by the committee. In the West, behind Kansas, UCLA, which should be a better team than what they've shown this year. They were another one of those teams. North Carolina is a perfect example. North Carolina started the season as the number 1 team, did not make the tournament. But UCLA, it was supposed to be UCLA and North Carolina this season.
Right.
And UCLA has been a little bit of a disappointment, even though they did get a number 2 seed. And like I said, in the East, Marquette as a number 2. I really don't think they have a chance. I mean, yes, they're a good team. Do they have a shot at winning a title? I don't think so. There's just too many teams that are better than they are. So, and just to say, Vegas has Houston as the favorite at 6-1. So they're not even the number 1 overall seed, but Vegas has them as number 1, and they're missing their guard, Marcus Sasser. I don't get that. Alabama 7-1, and Alabama has had the issue they've been dealing with for most of the season with. A couple of their players were involved in a peripheral way in a shooting death of a woman off campus. One player was suspended from the team, thrown off the team. Another guy who they said in text messages was told by the guy who did the shooting, "Go get me my gun." That's not funny.
No, it is funny because who sends a text?
Because he.
Yeah, what type of morons? Well, I'm going to send a text saying, "Go get my gun."
Well, but that's how stupid.
Why
these
not
people are.
go get my sneakers? And that means gun.
Well,
you know.
But that's they've been dealing with that tragedy and all of the abuse that they've been getting from fans all over the country because of it.
Right.
For most of the season. But I'll tell you what, Alabama's playing well. I give them all the credit in the world. But I mean, even though they're the number 1 overall seed, they still have 5 losses. There's no great team this year.
That's a lot.
There is not a great team. There's no team that I'm looking at. If Sasser was healthy, if he was fully healthy, I'd say give me Houston. I'll take my chances. They're not Phi Slamma Jamma by any means, but I'll take a shot with them.
Right.
But every other team here has flaws. And
well, that's a good thing, you know. It doesn't. There's less expectations. It makes it a little.
Well, I
more...
mean, it's going to make it more exciting. It's
Yeah.
going to make it. There's going to be some upsets. It should be like the Edey kid at Purdue. He can dominate a game, but you know what? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, I saw Maryland kick the crap out of Purdue and made Purdue look stupid. And Maryland's an 8 seed now, and so Maryland lost in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament to Indiana, which wound up losing to Penn State, which was the 10 seed in the tournament. So there's no rhyme or reason to it this year, which again should lead to a better tournament.
Right.
I'm not saying there's going to be a ton of upsets because maybe there won't be, but at the same time, I think there's more chance
What
for
about
upsets.
What about this upset, brother?
What's that?
I'm randomly picking. Princeton beating Arizona.
Yeah, I'm not going to rule it out
You see?
because Princeton is a pretty good team. It's not quite the Pete Carrill days with the slow down offense and the running all the picks and doing all that, but it's not that far off. They've kind of gotten back to what you call the Princeton basics. So I'm not going to say no, but that would be a shocker, big shocker.
Well, you need a big shocker.
Pick a different one, brother. Pick a different one.
Pick a different one.
Pick a different one.
I don't know. I always.
You know what was a shocker?
What?
Duke going to Florida. Not in every time they showed the Greensboro. Like, and these teams are going to be playing in Greensboro. And I saw like a 3 and a 4 seeds coming up, and I'm like, oh, here's Duke. Here's Duke. And I'm like, and then boom, here's I think they had Xavier at number 3. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not Duke.
Duke always plays in
Always.
4 feet from their home.
And they stuck him in Florida, which is still probably one of the cheapest flights in the country, going from Raleigh-Durham to Florida.
Yeah.
That was a $49 flight? I mean,
Maybe.
come on.
And who? No, they're not going to fly. They're going to drive down because everyone in North Carolina drives.
Well, whatever they do, but I mean, you're better off flying for $49. With gas is cheaper than what it was, but still,
Yeah. Well,
$49 worth of gas
number
is
5
17
is
gallons.
a little shocking, and for you to say that they're under when they should be higher is shocking to say the least, brother.
If a healthy Duke, I don't want to say they'll do damage in the tournament because I still don't really trust Shire, the new coach, but they could do some
Right.
things because they still have talent. I don't get Kentucky. For the last few years, Calipari keeps recruiting all of these top recruits and underachieves. And I don't get it. I don't understand how it keeps happening. I don't know why the kids keep trusting Calipari.
Because he's
But-
John Calipari.
Well,
That's
so
why.
what? But what's he done lately? Nothing.
Well,
He hasn't done anything lately. So, but Duke has talent. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but you have to keep an eye on them. You can't just say, "Oh, they're a 5 seed. It's a down year." It could be a good situation for them.
Right.
And the same thing you could say for Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a 3 seed. They got talent. That talent hasn't done everything you expected it to this season, but now it's 6 games. Put it together for 6 games.
that's all you need.
Can you do it?
That's all you need. I think it's going to be better. I think it's going to be fun to not expect, a dominance of one team. Even though obviously once this starts, it kicks in. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a good tournament, and for someone like me, I don't. This is like this is a maybe bigger betting situation than the Super Bowl. And now that we have all these companies with the different gambling sites and stuff, I start to worry sometimes, brother. And not that we're going to see bad things, but maybe not this year. I don't know. I always feel bad, that all this legalized gambling sometimes overshadows, the actual tournament.
Well,
So-
yeah, I mean,
And this is they do it differently too because it's about picking the tournament instead of picking a game.
Well, I mean, there's still the possibility for scandal, and there's a possibility for a desperate kid to influence a game in a negative way. And we had this conversation a while back with Claire Smith, the former New York Times baseball columnist, and she was of the same mindset that you're kind of opening up the door, and I don't want to say guaranteeing it's going to happen at some point because I don't think you could guarantee it, but you're certainly making
You're
the
inviting it.
You're inviting, you're giving somebody the opportunity and inviting the possibility that it could happen.
So-
And that's never a good thing, but hopefully that's what the NIL is taking care of. If a kid needs money that bad, they can figure out a way to get it for him.
It's interesting how that happened, and then you start seeing all this legalized gambling. If you didn't have that,
Well,
then,
I mean, I don't think one has anything to do with the other.
well, I think the NIL happening first allows people to make money who play, and then you bring
That
the
is true.
legalized gambling after that. Then they have a less of.
Yeah, but I'm not going to give anybody credit for having that kind of foresight because I don't think.
I don't think they did. I think it just
Yeah.
sort of happened, and I agree
Right.
with you on that.
Right.
Anyway, let's talk about St. John's. What?
Wait, before we do, I just want to say locally, brother.
Okay.
You need a team to root for. FDU, like I said, facing Texas Southern on Tuesday
Right.
in Dayton as one of the first 4 games. Princeton, the number 15 seed that you just mentioned, faces number 2 Arizona in the first round of the South Regional. And for me, brother, the most fun first round game will be number 4 seed UConn in the West Region will face possible future St. John's coach Rick Pitino and the number 13 Iona Gales in the first round. Now, despite that being in the West Region, that game will be played up in Albany.
That makes no sense. does
So
it?
get your tickets, people.
But that's good for Iona.
Good for Iona. Short drive for them, a couple of hours.
Yeah.
St. John's fans will probably be up there screaming, "Come to Queens, Rick! Come to Queens! We need you!"
That's where we're going to right now. St. John's, which, let's be honest, is not what it used to be. Even when Chris Mullen was there for a few minutes, and it didn't turn out the way people thought it was going to be. They got rid of Mike Anderson as head coach. The Red Storm. I know, I called them Red Men.
Yes, bro.
They want Rick Pitino, supposedly. I'm not sure what he can bring at this point. He's already been in New York as a coach. He was the Knicks coach for a while. He knows how it works. He knows the town. So how that would all work, I'm not sure with him. I mean, he's 70. So, but I think if you're St. John's and you can get Rick Pitino, you have to go for it. You have to say, we want Rick Pitino. Hopefully he still has something to offer to us to help bring back the St. John's aura, which has not been around in a long time.
You are correct on all points, brother. Now, here is my thought on Rick Pitino. Because at first I was thinking, dude's 70. And what's he going to do? But then I started thinking about it. Rick Pitino has been suspended. He was suspended by the NCAA. Title was vacated for various violations.
But of course he gets
at
hired
Louisville.
back.
Louisville,
He's back though.
But Pitino wound up coaching a year or 2 in Greece. That's how far he had to go to coach. But now, through the magic of the NIL, the name image and likeness situation, well, now it's basically legal to pay players.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of setting up the contracts, and what better place to do that than New York?
And it's nice to see the NCAA has caught up to the Rick Pitino methods.
Well, but that's my point. My point being that Rick Pitino still is a slick salesman. He's still Rick Pitino.
Always has a good suit on, brother.
Exactly. It's a key to life, brother. Suit up. But as far as what he could do and the impact that he could have at St. John's, well, he could turn the roster around pretty quickly because now that they have a transfer portal as well, players don't have to sit out a year.
Right.
They can just decide, hey, I'm going to a different school. So Pitino could put together a roster, and probably an experienced roster, where he could get graduated seniors and take them in for a year or something. He could get put together a pretty solid roster for his first season at St. John's, and it wouldn't be a stretch because he did it at Iona. He turned around Iona very quickly.
Yeah, but how quickly? They're in the playoffs here, but are they going to go more than the first round? That's the thing. I mean, here's to me.
What are you talking about?
Well, what I'm
Iona,
about,
you mean?
Yeah, Iona. I mean, one thing about Rick Pitino is, he comes to Iona, and he, turns it around. But did he turn it around enough to make them better than they are?
Yeah. I mean, it's Iona. Iona's never going to be a national power. I mean, he made them a very good MAC team. That's all they were ever going to be. Do they win this? Do they win their opening game? Do they beat UConn? Probably not. UConn has real athletes. Iona has some decent players. It's a massive difference in talent level. even with Rick Pitino there. But if you put Pitino at St. John's,
Right.
number one, St. John's needs a new gym. I know that people love Carnesecca Arena. They love Louis and everything that Louis represented and accomplished when he was at St. John's. But if you look at college basketball and you look at those teams, those leagues, like I said, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12, I can guarantee you the one thing or one of the things that those programs have in common is that their teams have a Class A facilities.
Well, my question for you is we know what St. John's is. We've passed it on Union Turnpike. Where do you put it?
I don't care where. It doesn't even matter.
That's my question. Where do you put it? And the second
It doesn't
question,
have to be on campus.
Well, that's the other thing. If it's not going to be on campus, you might as well just rent out the Garden or the Barclays.
They don't want to do that for the cost.
Well,
unless the Garden is willing to give them a deal. Jimmy Dolan, hello.
He might. You want to know why? Because right now there's a big fight brewing with Madison Square Garden people versus the city of New York, and it's happening because there's a bunch of people who the air rights
Right.
for the Garden have expired at the end of the year or sometime near soon, and they're trying to figure out let's get rid of the Garden and then we can bring back Penn Station.
Right.
Now the problem is you can't do that.
All right, wait, you're getting off topic.
No,
right?
but
you're getting off topic.
But hold on. By bringing in St. John's as another team to play at the Garden, it allows the people at the Garden to say, okay, we have another team here, a New York institution, St. John's, and you want to
Coached
kick
by
them
Rick
out.
Pitino.
Coached by Rick Pitino.
Legendary New York coach Rick Pitino.
Right. So
maybe that's all kind of wrapped together.
because they're not going to build an arena in time for a 3-year. Let's say Pitino takes a 3-year deal. They're not going to build it in 3 years because they first
it would take a while to build a new Garden.
Right. Well, not a new Garden, but I'm talking about a new arena at St. John's.
Well, yeah, for that. But St. John's needs a new place because as much charm as Carnesecca Arena has, again, it's not today's players don't want to play there.
No.
And that's the problem with St. John's. That's the problem with Georgetown. And that's the problem with a lot of Big East arenas is they all have charm that kind of went out in the 1960s.
I wouldn't say 60s, I'd say 80s.
Well, but, these kids now are, their fathers might have been impressed by those arenas, but the kids today, they want to play in a 20,000-seat arena that has all, new facilities and like crazy weight rooms and places for them to hang out and do stuff. That's what they want.
Right.
They don't want this 50, 60-year-old dump that was nice back in the day and isn't anymore.
You know, it was a cool little place, the Cole Fieldhouse, brother, in Maryland.
Loved it.
That was a cool little place, but you know what?
It was a big place. It wasn't a little place. It was a big
but
place.
they had to get rid of it.
But that's
they had
my
to switch
point.
out of it.
Maryland, where Cole Fieldhouse was, which was again a great place to play. Just it was a nightmare for opposing teams. But now Maryland has the Xfinity Center,
Right.
which holds 20,000 people and is probably nicer than half the arenas in the NBA.
Yeah, well, it's new.
So, it's not that new anymore. It's over 10 years old now, but it's still
That's still new. for
it's
them.
still incredible.
You can't build another stadium for them.
But
for a
that's
while.
my point, is that is what players want. And Maryland has problems recruiting. So, that is what that's what St. John's is dealing with. That's what Georgetown is dealing with. Now, my last point with Pitino, he knows this is going to be his last run at a national championship.
Yeah.
He would know that. All right. I would be curious to see Pitino in a setting where NIL deals are legal, which basically means you're paying players and the NCAA is not looking over your shoulder.
Nope.
The NCAA is not saying, "Oh, hey, you're not allowed to get that kid a dinner." It's like basically there's no rules anymore, and that's perfect for Rick Pitino. That's perfect. That's the way he's been running programs for years. But now it's all legal. Because can
he do it while it's legal, bro? That's the
but
question.
you can get like a car dealership to pay a player $20,000 to do a commercial or something. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's all legal now.
Some people want to do it illegally; they feel more comfortable.
Well, whatever. Now, the other point that I want to mention,
Our former president.
I want this known and I want this pointed out. Chris Mullen couldn't do this.
No, but
All right?
that
Like you said, Chris Mullen, who is the greatest player to ever play at St. John's, or at least one of them.
Right.
I don't want to go back into the 50s and 40s. But he is arguably the best player to ever play at St. John's. He is clearly the biggest name to ever play at St. John's. He could not get this done. And when you look at what he did and how he was dismissed, much in the same way that Patrick Ewing was kind of just shoved out the door at Georgetown last week.
Yep.
I worry that St. John's and teams like St. John's and Georgetown and those programs, and I don't necessarily want to say Catholic school programs specifically because Villanova kind of fits into that, but they've been doing well, but you don't know what's going to happen now that Jay Wright's been gone. You know, he obviously retired after last season. But St. John's should give Pitino the chance. But for me, they do it with the understanding that if Rick Pitino can't get this done, then it's time to stop pretending that St. John's is what it was 30 years ago and maybe dial it back on basketball. Because they're never going to be a national caliber, massive program like they were when Louis was wearing a sweater and they were going against John Thompson and it was Mullen against Ewing. Those days would, if Pitino can't get it done, those days are never coming back.
That's true. That is true.
So
I
why
agree with
sink
that.
millions into a program that you cannot revive?
That's true. But if I'm Pitino, I somehow maybe just for a visit. He doesn't have to coach, but for a visit, Chris Mullen, just to show the players this is a guy who you want to strive to be. And the same with Georgetown. You know, you when you have it's like when the Yankees in spring training, they bring their guys down, the superstars.
So many Hall of Famers.
For like a week and a half, and their job is basically to talk to the press, but also
The job is to sit around and
but occasionally they do give advice.
Yeah, Willie Randolph had a lot of conversations with Anthony Volpe in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so if you can do the same thing at both Georgetown and St. John's, these are two great programs that have been nowhere for the last 10 years.
Right, but the issue that you're dealing with now is, it used to be keeping the kids away from Tobacco Road and keeping them out of the ACC.
Right.
Well, now it's keeping the New York kids out of the Big Ten and the SEC for the most part. Not so much the Big 12 necessarily, but kids want to go to the Big Ten. They want to go to the SEC. That's where the best ball is being played.
Yeah.
You have to keep New York kids in New York, and can Rick Pitino do that? I don't know if he can. I'm willing to give him the shot. But St. John's, the other thing is they don't have a lot of money.
They don't. And also,
they need a booster. They need a couple of boosters to come up and say, all right, guys, this is the last shot.
I also think that there's a generation who maybe doesn't pick up on the fact who Rick Pitino is. That could be something also.
I think a lot of people know who Rick Pitino is just because he's won. He's always won.
Right.
He's never really been out of the spotlight. And in fact, Ione is probably the most he's been out of the spotlight. But like I said, he won the title with Louisville 10 years ago. So It's not like nobody knows him.
Yeah, but it's 10 years ago, not 5 years ago. Yeah. We should say that Jim Boeheim. I always call him Boeheim.
I don't know why.
Because it's Bo, B-O-E.
Boeheim.
Anyway, he is no longer the coach at Syracuse after 47 years. Is he available for another team?
No.
Or is he just retired?
He's like 109 years old.
Yeah, so?
He's not going to coach. He's not going to coach St. John's, bro.
Okay, well, it's an idea.
Adrian Red Autry, former Syracuse player and I believe Brooklyn native.
Okay.
But he's a New York guy. He is actually, to me, the perfect replacement for Boeheim. He's got New York City connections. He's got D.C. connections. He's been an assistant to Boeheim for like 10 or 11 years. Perfect fit. Just slide him right in there. Red, you're ready to go.
No, that's what you always want if you're in that situation. You don't, as our father once told us, just because you're the assistant doesn't mean they're going to give it to you when the guy leaves.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And I know, and Dad mentioned it many times.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to 90.3 WHPC from the press box. Give us a call, 516-572-7440.
Radioactive.
It's Big Ed inviting you to join me Mondays from 10 till noon for the Good Gold Show. We've got the greatest hits of all time, all your faves of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. A whole lot of fun, and we'll keep you informed. Plus, we'll take your requests and your dedications.
Playing favorites.
So join me Mondays from 10 till noon for Good Gold on 90.3 WHPC, available on the Odyssey, iHeart, and WHPC apps.
If you think all the great music has already been written, think again. Hi, I'm Kim Tracy, and I will prove to you that great new music is still being produced today. Join me on High Fidelity every Sunday at 9 a.m. for a mix of music with a focus on new music and lesser-known artists exclusively on the voice of Nassau Community College, worldwide on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn Radio app, nccradio.org, and always on 90.3 WHPC.
Okay.
Go.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Phrases people use way too much. All right,
I hear it every single day.
Uh-oh.
Where's the spaghetti?
You do not hear that every day.
I hear that 24/7.
Did you hear that at the Italian restaurants?
I went to my lawyer yesterday. He kept on saying, "Where's the spaghetti?" I said, "Sir, I hit a guy with my car. I don't know why you keep on saying this." Number 2, nipple sauce, baby. Nipple sauce,
Now,
baby.
that's one I hear way too much. I don't hear that phrase enough. Justin, I'm right there with you. I brought somebody some Russian dressing.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh my God, this is the nipple sauce, baby." Yeah. Russian dressing, my guy. Like, relax. It's not even top 3 sauces.
The Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
Sugar. Oh, honey, honey.
90.3 WHPC. From the press box, give us a call, 516-572-7440. I'm Rob Leonard. He is Tim Leonard. We're here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are part of the Sports Talk family. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then Tuesday is 11 p.m. to midnight. This show becomes a podcast later on if you'd like to hear it again or if you come in the middle of the show. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers, will he become a Jet? I don't know.
Yes.
Will he make $50 million? Does he want to walk away from $50 million? Then again, if he's worth $50 million, why is Daniel Jones worth what he's worth? And the answer is Daniel Jones isn't worth that.
Don't get into that, brother.
Oh, I will. Anyway, what will the Jets give up for Aaron Rodgers if this happens? It seems like the Jets are waiting for this to happen.
Well, they're waiting. They're waiting for Aaron Rodgers to actually decide. Yes, he wants to play next season. That's the first decision that needs to happen.
Yeah, well, I think for $50 million, I think he's just too weird, though. One thing about some people who come to New York, if they're really, really weird, New York doesn't take to them, and then they just sort of disappear. Brett Favre was kind of weird, brother. Randy Johnson was a little weird.
Randy Johnson was very weird.
Yeah,
he was not a nice person either.
Yeah, so this is New York isn't for the weak of heart.
He was a jerk.
Yeah.
I could say a worse word, but I don't think I could say it on the radio.
But
it's a nickname for somebody named Richard.
The media in Green Bay is much different than the media in New York.
What media in Green Bay? There's like 2 newspapers.
That's right.
Please. Well, here's the story that has been going around, brother. And this was originally reported by NBC Sports Chicago.
Okay.
And it says that Packers president Mark Murphy, who I will preface this by saying Mark Murphy lied to me twice when I was a sports writer up in Troy, New York. So
okay.
I don't trust him at all.
Okay.
But Mark Murphy says
what team did he work for?
He was the athletic director at Colgate University.
And now he's GM for the Packers?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, he used to play for the Washington Redskins.
So what?
Well, Colgate for Colgate to get him was a good get because he was a name guy.
Right.
So, I didn't expect him to stay there very long, but I also didn't appreciate him lying to me like he did. But he is saying that that Aaron Rodgers' career with the Packers is basically over. So, and this NBC Sports Chicago story is reporting that a deal between the Packers and the Jets is, quote, essentially done, and that the sides have to work out what needs to be in place to make Rodgers a Jet. I mean, first of all, the story is really incredibly poorly written. But that the only box left to check is Rodgers' approval of the trade, which we don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We also don't know what the Jets are giving up. But what I will say is, as far as I have heard, the Jets are the only team who are making a run at Rodgers. So that being the case, I would hope that they don't go overboard with the compensation for the Packers, because they're taking this massive contract off of the Packers' hands. I can't. I mean, first of all, if the Jets give up a first-round draft pick for this, then they're insane. But
it reminds me of when the Yankees re-signed A-Rod and no one else was going to sign him, and they gave him even more money.
Somebody would have signed. I mean, that was to keep him off the market. Somebody would have made him an offer. Whether it was $275 million like the Yankees did, who knows? Probably not, because there aren't that many teams that can make that kind of an offer. But the Yankees didn't want A-Rod on the market. And as it turned out, it was stupid. They probably should have let him go on the market and just let him sign with somebody else or make the threat. But that wasn't how those Yankees operated back then. That was a Hank Steinbrenner move, brother, if you remember.
I love Hank.
Yeah, well,
I miss him.
I don't. So that's what we're looking at with Aaron Rodgers. This is going to get done in the near future, or it should get done. I mean, this article is saying that there is $60 million of guaranteed money for 2023. So how does Aaron Rodgers say no to that? How does he say, I'm good? No, $60 million, don't need it.
Unless he has concussion problems or something.
Well, if he has concussion problems, he should turn it down. But he doesn't have concussion problems. I mean, the Jets are it's a good situation for him. They have an all-pro type receiver in Garrett Wilson.
Right.
They have Elijah Moore, who is also a very good receiver. They probably need to revamp the offensive line a little bit so that Rodgers isn't, running for his life. But if Becton is healthy, if a couple of the other guys who got hurt can get healthy, it has the makings of a good offensive line. But again, health is a very much a consideration there. This Jets offense, the Jets defense is really getting elite. Coach Rob Saleh has done an outstanding job with the defense, as we all expected he would. It's just a matter of getting somebody to run this offense. Breece Hall will be back, the running back. He'll be back after the ACL surgery. He'll be back for next season. So there's another weapon. And let's see who they get in the draft. Would the Jets draft a receiver at 14? I don't know. Maybe they would. Or would they draft some sort of an offensive, whether it be a lineman or a receiver? But I would think if they're going after Rodgers like this, that they would draft somebody for him with that first-round pick.
Well, you hope so. I mean, it's the Jets have done, I think, pretty decent to get the cap down, and the new season technically begins on Wednesday for the cap, so it's going to be fun to see how this all works out. Aaron Rodgers becoming quarterback of the Jets would be hopefully better than when Brett Favre showed up.
Yeah, that didn't go so well.
No, because the funny thing is, it would be like you take the Brett Favre jersey and you put like number 12 and Favre at the back of it. That'd be kind of funny. Because there's tons of Brett Favre jerseys. If you ever want to go to a thrift store or something, there's tons of Brett Favre jerseys available.
That's true.
That is true. Let's talk about the Knicks. Last time we were talking about them, they had a 9-game winning streak, but now they've had 3 losses. Stopped last night. They beat the Lakers pretty good in Los Angeles. Knicks were without Brunson, And the Lakers were out LeBron again. What's going on?
Pretty much the same.
LeBron, was he just taking the day off?
No. LeBron's got a foot injury, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
And Brunson's got a foot injury. But LeBron's been out for a couple weeks already, and he's probably going to miss a couple more weeks.
Okay.
Which means the Lakers probably are not going to make the playoffs again.
Yeah, well, that's something you want. If you're the Lakers, you believe that Jeannie Buss is engaged to Jay Moore? I can't believe that.
Hey, good for Jay Moore.
I'm like, what did I miss here? What did I miss? If Jay Moore could date Jenny Buss or Jeannie Buss, that means you or I could have dated her.
Probably. I'm as funny as Jay Moore. We know that.
Well, yeah, we know that. But I'm just shocked by that. Every time I think of the Lakers, I think of Jay Moore. She used to date.
He could own the
Jackson.
team at some point.
No. That's in the Bust Family Trust. She's running it, but she's also doing the wrestling thing. She likes that. Anyway, the Nets, who we were worried about, brother, after they traded away Durant, are playing very well. At 5-1 the last 6 games. They're playing well. They're going to make the playoffs. And right now the Knicks and the Nets are fighting for spot number 5.
I was worried about the Nets after that trade, but it seems like they kind of figured it out.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'll tell you what, Mikal Bridges, this kid's a star. He's a star in the making. In Phoenix, he was like the 4th option on offense,
right?
Because they had so many stars there already. But now that he has become the focus for the Nets, and the Nets say, all right, you know what? Hey, this kid's athletic. He can shoot. He's got a good mid-range game. He's basically a smaller version of Durant, except he actually wants to play and he hustles and he's less worried about social media and more worried about trying to win ball games. So I mean, Bridges has been incredible since he's come over to the Nets. He scores 30 points like it's nothing, and he is going. I mean, this trade could really work out for the Nets because Durant is 34 or whatever. I mean, he's going to start showing his age at some point,
right?
And whether or not it's on this contract, I don't know. I think the contract has 3 more years left on it. But and Durant has been a good player, and he really doesn't show signs of age except the injuries. The injuries keep happening. I mean, he was recovered from the knee injury. He played a couple of games for the Suns, and now he's got an ankle. So he just hurt himself again. So give me Mikal Bridges, young guy, ready to put a team on his shoulders because that's what he's going to have to do with the Nets. And we'll see what they can get with these number 1 picks. This boatload of number 1 picks that they got from between Dallas and Phoenix. But it's things are not as dire as you would have thought for the Nets after dealing away the big 3.
Yeah, and it happened. It didn't happen, I think, as big as everyone expected. If you get rid of these big 3 stars, you expect lots of noise, and it was, I think, a little more downplayed than maybe it could have been or should have been. But hey, right now, I think we're going to see they're going to make the playoffs, both the Knicks and the Nets, and we'll see what happens. The Knicks are playing well, though. They lost 3 out of 4, but they're not playing bad. This is what we wanted from the Knicks. And the Nets are playing quieter because now they have to reestablish themselves.
Because they don't have stars now. Now nobody's paying attention. People paid attention to them because it was Durant or it was Irving or even when Harden was there for the 12 minutes that he was there. They're not paying attention to Ben Simmons because Simmons isn't really playing. And I still don't know if it's true or not, but if the Nets could have made the trade that would have sent Simmons away and would have brought Bam Adebayo to Brooklyn, and they didn't do that, I can't even imagine why they wouldn't. But whatever. I would have done it just to get rid of Simmons because he's brought nothing to the team. And if they could unload his contract, then I would have done it in a second. But yeah, I mean the Knicks and the Nets basically they're fighting for those top 6 spots.
Yeah,
and it seems like right now one of them will be 5 and one will be 6. I'm not sure how it's going to work out because they're just percentage points apart. But the one thing you don't want to do is drop to that 7 spot because then that's the play-in game. 7 through 10 play against each other, 7 against 10, 8 against 9, to get in to play the top 2 teams.
Right. Actually, the Nets are percentage point 574. The Knicks are 571.
Right. That's why the Nets are in 5th and the Knicks are in 6th. So it's encouraging to see because just because the Nets, like I said, it seems like they figured it out, and it's tough when you change that many players in such a short period of time like the Nets did. I mean, I remember we talked about it right after the trade deadline for the NBA. The Nets had 4 new players in their starting lineup.
Yeah,
that's you don't just go and start playing and just have everything work. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen that way.
That's what happens at the beginning of the season, and then they take time to find how to play with each other.
Right. That's why you have training camp, and
Yeah.
that's so you got to give a lot of credit to Jacques Vaughn too, because he's the guy that's putting all this together and getting these guys to play together.
Right.
And the Nets they're playing unselfishly. They got the right guys in there to play unselfishly. And it would be nice to see them make the playoffs. It would be, I think, a good foundation for number one, to attract free agents if they want to go in that direction, but also to maybe trade some of those draft picks and bring another star quality type of player in.
I agree. The Islanders, after playing pretty damn well last couple of weeks, Saturday against the Capitals was just a bad game. They lost 5-1. The third period was just they'd given up by then. I mean, it was 3-1, then became 5-1. They lost to the Capitals, who are chasing the Islanders. The Capitals have 71 points. The Islanders have 76. Islanders are the 8th team in the wild card. The 8th.
Hold on to that last spot.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is 2 points ahead at 78. But you got the Panthers and the Capitals, 73 and 71 points. Even the Senators with 70. And even the Sabres and the Red Wings, 69 points. So
Red Wings won't do that.
No, they won't. But you don't know. I mean, it's closer than you think. And
the Red Wings basically are losing to every good team they play, except they beat the Bruins last night.
Yeah,
and nobody's been beating the Bruins.
And the Bruins,
so
Bruins, they're like this is the best team in hockey right now.
Yeah,
this is
clearly all
105 season. Points. They've just been dominating the whole damn league. It's scary how well they're playing.
Yes.
But there was a great game on Thursday with the Islanders. They played Pittsburgh, and they were down 3-1 with 14 minutes left, and they came back and won in overtime 4-3. So they know how to come back, especially against Pittsburgh, which is very important because Pittsburgh's after that. Well, actually, Pittsburgh right now is ahead of them by 2 points.
That's why it was so big. The Islanders swept all 4 games they played against the Penguins this season.
They said that's the first. My friend Wayne says it's the first time it's happened ever.
Wayne is correct.
Yeah, against Pittsburgh. I think of the 4-3 thing in '82 when the Islanders won in the 7th game. So anyway, right now the Islanders are fighting off the Penguins, but they got teams under them that they have to make sure they don't get ahead of them, or the teams get ahead of the Islanders. So.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario would be for them to finish ahead of the Penguins, but
yeah, you want that.
Otherwise, they're not going to catch the top 3.
No, but if they stay at number 8, they play Boston as the opening series. So,
and as the saying goes, brother, that would be bad.
That would be bad. Now, if they come in 7th, they'd play right now Toronto.
I'll take that.
Toronto, but the Tampa Bay Lightning's only 4 points behind. So
I'll take Toronto. I'll take my chances with the Maple Leafs, especially in the playoffs. Talk about a team that likes to gack.
Right, and actually, the Devils.
Devils are good,
doing very well.
Good
and
team.
The Rangers are doing well too, 84 points. So
and they just got Tarasenko and Patrick Kane. He's not Harry Kane, but he's Patrick Kane.
No, but they're playing well. So we'll see what happens with this. We hope all 3 teams make the playoffs, but we already know the Devils and the Rangers are probably doing that. But
yeah,
Islanders guys,
they have.
I hate to say this term, brother. They have to step up.
Ugh, hate it.
I know you hate it.
Well, I mean, they need to play better, and we talked about this last week, and I'll just say it again quickly. But for all the games in hand that the other teams around them have. Most of these teams are playing a little better than 500 hockey, so you figure they're going to split those games. But if somebody can put 4, 5, 6 wins together, you're going to see helium because they're going to soar up the standings. And if the Islanders the Islanders have been playing better lately, and like you said, they'd won 3 games in a row before that game against the Caps, but that's they need to put a few wins together again.
Right.
Put 3 more wins together, and fine. If you lose a game, okay, it's going to happen, but. Put 3 more wins together, and you'll be in real good shape.
The thing is, the Islanders are 34-26 with an OTL of 8. That's not a bad standings.
No, it's not.
It's not a bad place for the standings.
The NHL has basically become a league of haves and have-nots, and the haves are really good, and the have-nots are terrible, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of middle teams in the NHL anymore.
Right. No, and let's talk like, oh, we're gonna put more teams in the NHL. No.
I disagree with that, but
how many more? They won 32, I guess. Is that the deal?
Seems like it.
12, 13, 14, 15. They only have 32.
Yeah.
But they're thinking of adding more. No, you can't do this.
It doesn't make any sense.
Have the AHL become a better league.
Yeah, you have to. You can't. You can't. I mean, 32 is enough. It's probably too many.
Yeah, it is.
And to hear them make that kind of a declaration, we're going to have new teams.
No. Well, that's Bettman.
Just say no.
Being Bettman.
Say no, Bettman.
Brother, we're running out of time. Ed's coming up next with the Good Gold Show. Yes. Quickly, soccer, MLS, NYCFC, who deserves a name.
Your favorite team.
They got their first win of the season over Inter Miami. I don't even know what that means.
It's a team in Miami, Florida.
Yeah, I know that. Another stupid
Owned
name.
by David Beckham.
Yeah, I know that. Co-owned by
Yes.
David.
And Inter Miami scored on an own goal. So thank you very much for the gift and the win, the first win of the season for NYCFC. Red Bulls played to a 1-1 draw with Minnesota United, brother. And that was the first point of the season for the Red Bulls, who had lost their first 2 matches.
Oh, wow.
So, not good.
Yeah, well, the Red Bulls are,
starting slow.
But soccer starts slow in here because it's only March and it's middle of March, and they start actually in February now because, that's when people want to watch soccer.
Exactly, bro.
So, because, God forbid, they don't end in December.
Well, I do want to point out, brother, for anybody who might have missed it, there was a trade in the NFL. The Bears traded the number 1 pick in the 2023 draft to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for 4 draft picks, including the number 9 this season and a first-round pick next season. The Bears got quite a haul back for that number 1 pick.
Not bad.
So they're going with Justin Fields.
That's what you got to
do. They've given him the keys. They're not going to undermine him. And let's hope that they can get a couple of linemen and at least another receiver, because they got DJ Moore back from the Panthers in the trade, and he's a good receiver. He's also a Maryland man, brother.
Of course, that makes him much better.
Well, he's good. Maryland, their football team isn't that good, but they put out good receivers.
Well, that's good. Maybe the football team will disappear the way Hofstra's team did.
No,
never. I know. I just like saying it because of Hofstra. Jimmy Stewart's, well, I don't know if he's dead, but if he was, he'd be dying.
Let's not
rolling
talk about it.
Over in his grave.
Let's not talk.
Anyway, a good show tonight, brother.
Hurry up.
Big Ed's coming in next. Big Ed's got the greatest show ever coming up. He's just...
What about the weather, brother? Did you do the weather?
No, I didn't do the weather.
Do the weather before we go. Hurry up.
Anyway, your WHPC weather forecast, powered by Pantano's Gourmet in Hewlett, Uniondale, and Garden City Park. This afternoon, it's going to be raining on and off, high about 40 tonight. Rain continues actually worse tonight. It might be snowing in your area, depending on your area, 1 to 3 inches. And currently, right now, in Nassau Community College on 90.3 WHPC, it's about 40 degrees. So keep it tuned here to WHPC. We appreciate it. We stream at nccradio.org. Coming up next is Good Gold. Great show, brother. We'll be talking next time.
Brother.
Take care and bye-bye.